Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
So we're going to talk about if you're at home, living at home, and you're wanting to convert and your family is not Muslim, how to go about either telling them or demonstrating your intention. I think if your parents are completely opposed to it and actually would kick you out and it would sever your relationship with them, my suggestion is hold out for a little bit. And the reason I would say this is because you can show them in other ways instead of just coming out right to them and saying, I'm going to be a Muslim, like it or leave it, so to speak. You don't want there to be an ultimatum at all involved on either side. So what I would suggest to do is go about your intention. If you want to become Muslim, don't hold back. Take your Shahada, become Muslim, and then implement different sunnahs and different practices into your life as every other Muslim would do. But don't, I think this is a very sort of sensitive time for a new Muslim. You can show your family in other avenues that this is the path you're taking. For example, I would suggest, like in my case, I prayed at home and my parents saw me praying. They didn't ask about it. They just saw me do this prayer. They saw me make a prayer outfit for myself. They saw all these things, but at the time I wasn't really thinking about converting, but they did see this. And it wasn't like something like, what are you doing? Oh my gosh. They were just sort of like, whatever. She's doing whatever.
I think if you do have family or parents or friends that are not supportive or who don't know that this is something that's important to you, go slow.
Yes.
And I think actions speak so much louder than words. So if you do know that you have people in your life who are not supportive, like, shower them with kindness, and if they ask why, bring it back to Islam. You can say, I've been learning about this and I really want to become a better person. Or, you know, if your family or whoever in your life that you're, thinking of, if they're willing to listen, then talk about it, but slowly.
Yes.
And I think it's important to just show people that Islam has made you better.
Yeah.
And I think what I did is I very slowly just talked about Islam with my parents. I showed them that I was excited about it. But what I showed them is that Islam made me a better person. And it made me a happier person.
And, subhanAllah, through her demonstration and her actions and the change that they saw in her, they themselves looked into Islam and are now Muslim.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. My parents, on the other hand, I was more gung-ho, big bang, I'm this, take it or leave it. Like, I was the opposite of that. I didn't do it the way, like, if I had to go back, I would have done it a gentler way. Like I said, I came out to my family with a picture of me on Facebook, and I was like, whatevs. But it actually put a little bit of a dent. My family is very strong. We're very close-knit, and now we're to the point where we can talk about things. But for a while there, it was a touchy subject. And for about 6 months, it was just not a good picture. And even then, I was not living at home, so I could only imagine what it would be like if I was at home and dealing with this. So I did it the opposite of my recommendation. So take it from me.
You live and learn.
You do. You live and learn. And so ever since then, it's been, I don't preach to my parents. They know I'm Muslim. It's something that we go forward on. But if I had to go back, it definitely wouldn't be, yes, I'm eloping, I'm gonna take my Shahada and I'm gonna elope, and yeah, it's gonna be this Saturday. Oh, you can't make it? Oh, too bad. It was very much like that because I was so gung-ho and I was completely forgetting the other half of Islam, which was like, do not cut relations, listen to your parents, and it took my husband telling me, what are you doing? And so it was this whole thing, and then we talked it down. I talked it through my parents. Alhamdulillah, we settled on something that was more acceptable with my parents and with my religion. So it ended up working out, alhamdulillah, for the best. But at the time, I definitely blew a fuse in my whole family.
You bring up a really good point, though. Islam teaches us to maintain relations with family, with friends, with our community.
Yep.
And we're also told that we need to follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his messenger, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After that is our parents.
Yeah.
And our parents are just so important, and they're held in such high regard in Islam.
Yep.
It's beautiful. And I remember, I think something that helped my mom become interested in Islam was hearing about the respect that people have for their mothers in Islam. You know, and
that solidifies the relationship you end up having. If you have like an amazing relationship, it just solidifies that sort of thought you already had. And if maybe you have a weaker relationship with your parents, or your mother or your father, it inshallah motivates you to strengthen it. You know, so family is like one of the most important things in Islam.
Right.
And
we should do our best to listen to what our parents have to say.
Yeah.
But the time when you are not, when you don't need to listen to your parents is when they say something that contradicts Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his teachings in Islam.
Yep.
I think something, you know, if you're going to talk to your parents, don't underestimate the power of dua.
Yeah.
You know, we did an entire video series about dua, and it is just so important. And if Islam is something that is important to you, and it's something that you want to accept and to make your life, your deen, you know, your path, your lifestyle, then take the time to make dua. And I spent every single prayer, I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open my parents' heart to Islam. I didn't say make them Muslim. I said please open their hearts to Islam. And the way that he opened their hearts, alhamdulillah, was first they were willing to listen. They accepted me. They started asking questions. It's okay. And then they accepted it, and now they practice it. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So making dua, practice talking to other converts and their stories about how their families reacted or what strategies worked. Maybe we can in the future do a video about dawah to family.
Yeah.
And strategies that work or don't work.
I would also suggest, just because like now that I am Muslim, I still hold my parents in the highest esteem. Alhamdulillah. And just because even if they give you advice, you again take the good from the bad. But just because they're not Muslim doesn't mean that their advice doesn't follow sunnah and doesn't follow the hadith. My mom gives me the best advice. And you know what? I can find a hadith that backs her advice up, because she, mashallah, is one of the smartest women I know. And even though she's not Muslim, she's spouting off this advice that, like, I can find 10 examples in Islam that back up that advice and strengthen it even more. So my suggestion is, again, if your parents are not Muslim, like my parents are not Muslim, actually the only person in my family is me that's Muslim, don't just say, oh, they're not Muslim, don't listen to them.
Right.
That advice can save you.
And they still deserve
Your
the
respect.
And even, you know, more respect than you showed them before. Let them see that Islam makes you better. Let them see that Islam makes you happier. Because if your family loves you and they want you to be happy, ultimately that's their goal, to be happy and to be safe. And if they can see that Islam is an avenue for you to achieve this, then inshallah they'll be more willing to accept it.
And I have to say, one thing is that even if inshallah this is not the case, they're not happy with you being Muslim, at least by your good example, they have a new face to that reality of what is Islam. You know, your face and your temperament and your behaviors are now the face of Islam to them. So inshallah, over time, even if they're they find it like, you know how it is. in the real world, especially like down south. It's completely different ball game. In small towns, doesn't matter. If you are now the face of Islam, and that's a big responsibility.
Yes.
And just know that, and hopefully, inshallah, you can handle it. Inshallah. All right, so inshallah, this video was a little bit beneficial. Inshallah. And hopefully, it'll guide you a little bit better on handling a situation that can be completely minefield. So, alrighty. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.